A while ago, I put out a rant about a lot of things that Windblown was missing. It was a rather critical video, but despite that, I'm actually one of the biggest proponents of the game. I have been since I played it in early access when it first came out in late 2024. Now, I'm making this video. I realize a lot of you are probably windblown players, right? That's probably why you watch me. But on the off chance this kind of breaks through, the algorithm to maybe the larger roguelite audience who haven't really played Windblown, but maybe heard of it, know that, Motion Twin made Dead Cells, now they're working on Windblown. This is really more so for them. But hey, I also enjoy preaching to the choir because hey, if you guys agree with me, maybe we have different ideas on what makes Windblown so great. So if you can hear me out, I'd appreciate it. But let's get into it. So Windblown, like I was saying, came out into early access late 2024, being developed by Motion Twin, the same company that made Dead Cells. Now, Motion Twin is a rather small team. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's like 15 or less, 10 or less people. So already it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do. I know there's been a little bit of drama between Dead Cells, Windblown, Motion Twin, Evil Empire. I'm just gonna be quite honest with you. I've never played Dead Cells. I don't know. I'm not gonna comment on that, and also I'm not getting paid by Motion Twin to promote Windblown. They haven't paid me a dime, even though they totally should, because I am the best Elder Sword player to ever walk the Vortex. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to talk about this game because I've played a lot of roguelites over the years. Risk of Rain 2 being one of my favorite games of all time, Slay the Spire, and Hades being some of my favorite roguelites of all time, right? A little bit behind Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain 2 is the peak for me. It will always be the peak. And Windblown specifically, as it stands of the recording of this video, it's not peak, right? It's not the best roguelite ever made, but I promise you that it has the potential to be one of those household names, right? When we talk about roguelites in the roguelite community, we have a lot of household names. Risk of Rain, Binding of Isaac, Slay the Spire. These are all games that you can mention to a roguelite player, and they'll at least be familiar with them, heard of them, most likely played them. And then, of course, in the grand scheme of things, you just mentioned them to a gamer, right? Someone who plays games, not necessarily one specific genre or the other. They've probably heard of Hades, Risk of Rain 2. Those are pretty universal games, at least in the wider gaming sphere. Windblown right now has the potential to be there, and I'm just going to be talking very generally about why. So the first thing I kind of want to put out there is that the game is in early access. Yes, it came out in early access late 2024. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people because you see early access and you think, okay, it's a half-baked game, or perhaps it's a game that got pushed out. The developers updated it once and they just took your money and they ride off into the sunset. I'm just going to tell you right now that the developers, keep in mind Motion Twin is a small team, but they are active, very active in the Discord, interacting with the community, listening to feedback. Personally, they've responded to my comments multiple times in the Discord. They engage pretty much daily with the community and are updating the game on a consistent basis. I promise you the game from 2024 to now looks completely different. And even of March of this year, okay, in March we had the Sanctuary update that added a new biome, new weapons. Then we had the For the Leaper update, which was just a month or two after, which added a bunch of quality of life. And then in the summer we had the gift rework update, which changed a whole variety of gifts and added new weapons and things like that. If you don't know what those things are, what gifts are, weapons are in this game, I'll get to that in a moment. But I just want to tell you confidently that there are major updates being made to this game consistently off of feedback from the community. And it's impressive to me, especially considering how small of a team that Motion Twin is, and that they're doing this. So if you have any reservations, it's a small team. Surely they can't be updating the game. They just want my money. Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, don't get me wrong. They probably want your money. It's their job to make a game that people will buy. So they do want your money. but they're doing it maybe with a smile, if you will. They're definitely trying to make a better product, a better game. And hey, that's the first step in making a good game, as far as I'm concerned. And they're doing a pretty good job of it so far. So just wanted to dispel that because I know there's a little bit of reservation when you see early access, or maybe you played the game when it launched in early access and it was I wouldn't say it was bare bones, but it was definitely barer bones than we have now, right? It was like bones with like a little bit of meat on it, and now we got some good meat on there, right? It's a nice rib, or whatever, whatever the analogy is, whatever food you want. It's got quite a robust skeleton, if you will, with some parts very fleshed out. So the game is a roguelite, and if you don't really know what a roguelite is, I encourage you to check out the genre just at a very high level. It's a game with a high level of replayability that revolves around runs. So every run is different, most likely due to RNG or chance, odds, whatever you want to call it. So it makes every run unique because you'll get different items, different weapons each run that kind of just make every run unique and special. So it adds to the replayability. Typically, these games don't have a major focus on story or plot. Maybe Hades is probably one of the bigger. If you do want a roguelite with a story, try Hades. Windblown is not too focused on the story. Now you will see from the gameplay that aesthetically it's beautiful and there is like a central hub, a base that you go back to after every run with characters that talk and have their own personality, and they're quite it's quite adorable in a way just because of the style of it. But this game isn't really focused on its story, it's focused on the gameplay. That gameplay revolves around runs. Specifically, you have weapons. You can have two weapons at a time, and the weapons actually flow together in probably the core gameplay aspect of Windblown, which is alter attacks. So there are 23 weapons in the game currently. Each weapon has its own combo, if you will, kind of like a fighting game, how you have like a base combo. Every weapon has its own combo. Some weapons have their own unique traits that apply only to them. And then every weapon has an alter attack. So an alter attack is basically when you use one weapon's combo, and once you finish one weapon's combo, you'll unlock the alter attack for the other weapon. An alter attack is basically just a super powerful attack that's unique to the weapon. So if I'm using the eye blades combo, for example, which is a 4-hit combo, a 1-2, a 3-4, I get the symbol over my head, and I'm able to use the beat bolt alter attack, which is just this big nuke, if you will, where I fire just a giant bolt that does single target damage, and that's pretty much the main gameplay loop or mechanic, and it's pretty satisfying. Now keep in mind every weapon has its own combo, every weapon has its own alter attack, and that's just weapons in of itself, right? You can only use two weapons. There's 23 of them, so in total you can have over 250 weapon combinations. Even I, with hundreds of hours, haven't tried all of the weapons with one another. And we're only talking about weapons. We haven't even spoken about trinkets, which are these little trinkets, for lack of a better word, these little accessories that have their own active ability that you can press and they do something unique there. Not trying to get too bogged down in the details, but you have weapons, you have trinkets, and then you also have gifts. Gifts are kind of like that passive, stat boost, if you will, but they're not just plain out stat boost like, okay, 10% more damage, 10% more movement. They do things, and there's different families of gifts, if you will. You can focus on status effects if you like debuffs and buffs, if you come from MMOs and the World of Warcraft like I do, which I played growing up. If you want to stack debuffs and kind of do that, you certainly can. There's plenty of them in the game. If you want to take a more like action heavy approach and just do big damage, you certainly can with Overwhelm. If you want just a single hit, one shot, one kill, you can focus on Echo. There's over 100 gifts in the game, and they're all, unique for the most part in their own different classes. And those things, weapons, trinkets, gifts, all come together to make the roguelite aspect of it, to make it unique. And then later on, once you've played a fair bit, 10, 20 hours in, maybe, probably a little bit more, I'm not too sure. This was added after I had hundreds of hours in. You'll unlock the memory deck, which basically allows you to control RNG. If you don't have, you'll have a set amount of weapons you've unlocked over time, as roguelites typically do. And you'll be able to basically exclude certain weapons, trinkets, gifts in your run. So if you have a weapon that you unlocked and you don't like it, for example, for me, it's the shield. I hate the shield. I think it's the worst weapon in the game, and it's the one I complain the most about. I don't like it. So in my memory deck, I have a big, giant no shield policy. I never have it turned on, which means I never get to see it in my runs. So if you know what you want to build ahead of time, go ahead, use the memory deck to exclude it. Just keep in mind you'll unlock this later on in your journey into Windblown. You won't have access to this right away. It's kind of the game's way of letting you see what the game has in store, and then once you've kind of earned your keep a little bit, once you've progressed a little bit, then you get access to the memory deck and you're able to lock some things out, lock some gifts out, lock some trinkets out. You do have to have a bare minimum, right? You can't just lock out everything and just leave the one or two things you like. There is a minimum for each category, if you will, weapons, trinkets, things like that. But it does allow you to manipulate the odds a little bit in your favor. And then the actual gameplay itself, now that you know what you'll be running with, you'll just go through the stages, just doing what you do in a roguelike, killing things, getting new weapons, new trinkets, things like that. And really, I've just described the game to you in a nutshell. So what makes Windblown special, right? Because I did say it could be a Risk of Rain 2. I said it could be a Hades, a Slay the Spire. So what's so special about this game? Well, first off, I am very impressed, like I was saying, about how much Motion Twin has been able to add on a consistent basis. And 1.0 is pretty far away. It's going to be in 2026. And if they keep track like they've been doing so far, it's going to be phenomenal. The gameplay is smooth. It clicked for me. Alter attacks, there's so many weapons, so many different combinations you can do, over 200. And I just like every run, I feel like I discover something new or I learn something new. Sometimes it's going to be a bad thing that I learn. I find out, okay, these two weapons don't go together. Make sure never to put these two together again. Or maybe I find out this gift interacts with this trinket, or this trinket interacts with this weapon, or all three. I have the perfect build. You can check out my channel. I have plenty of videos talking about specific builds that I've discovered. I also like the challenge of it, just because of the dodge mechanic, where it has no cooldown. So you're basically just using your dodge, your reflexes. It makes a snappy moment-to-moment decision where you have to react to the enemies, use your dodge accordingly, use your invincibility frames as well, because each weapon's alter attack, most weapons have invincibility frames on their alter attack, and overall the gameplay feels good. Really, yes, we can talk about the music, we can talk about the graphics, which, by the way, the aesthetic of it, of the game, of the arc, the main hub, it's beautiful, but ultimately it's not about the music, it's not about the characters, it's not about any of those like peripheral nice to haves. It's about the gameplay, the combat, and for me, Windblown's combat clicks for me almost as well as Risk of Rain's did. There's something about Risk of Rain that is it stole my heart, and it's no game is ever gonna no roguelite is ever gonna have my heart like Risk of Rain did, but Windblown comes pretty darn close. And that's only in early access. Once we get to 1.0, hey, you never know. This might be the new love of my life. But really, it's the gameplay, just how nice it feels. Smooth, the combinations, the alter attacks. Trust me, once you try it, you'll be like, okay, they're cooking with something here. Because in a lot of other roguelites or games in general, you find the good weapon, right? You have bad weapons, then you have better weapons, then you have the god tier weapons, and you rock with those the whole way through. This is a bit different because you need one weapon to enable the other weapon, and sometimes you have two good weapons, but the two weapons are good by themselves, not together. So that's, I know it's a little abstract. I know it's, without playing the game, you can't really get a good feel for it. But just trust me that it's just the feeling of discovery when you play this game. Not only with discovering the environment, which it's a linear game. You go through the levels in a set order, but there are off the beaten paths, secret areas. So not only are you discovering the environment, you're discovering new things about the builds, about the weapons you're using, new mechanics. There's a little bit of actually tech involved. If you like discovering tech, there's something called dash canceling, basically a way to speed up your animations. It's not an exploit or anything like that. It's been since the game came out. It's just another layer, right? Some weapons are able to dash cancel. That adds another layer onto things. A weapon may be decent, dash cancel, you speed up the animations, it's even better. So for me, it's going to be the gameplay is what makes it unique, and everything else that Motion Twin is adding, new weapons, new biomes, new bosses, that's just icing on the cake for me. Now there is a lot that we need to do to make this game one of the one of the best roguelites it can be. I've talked about those things at length before. I'll talk about them briefly here, but keep in mind if you've never played the game, you won't really get the full gist of it. But right now there's multiple currencies you get in the game. You use those to unlock things back at base so you can see them in your runs, right? So first off, you'll start off with a handful of weapons. You'll find the weapon in a run, unlock it back at base, and then you'll be able to see it in your runs in the future. That's what you use the currencies for. But once you've unlocked everything, you just accrue this currency into the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and there's no really way to spend them. And since the runs are pretty random, you don't start off with a certain weapon besides the fish knife, which is like the default weapon you start off with always. You really need. One of my suggestions has been you really need to add a way, if you're motion twin watching this, to spend currency to be able to start your runs with, okay, I love the Elder Sword, so let me spend currency to start off the run with the Elder Sword, or let me start off with the specific gift. That's one complaint I have. Another complaint I have is that the central hub, the arc, visually beautiful. Characters have dialogue, and they're all unique, believe it or not. Even though characters are not really a big focus in most roguelites, but these NPCs are very unique, cute designs. They speak in a way that's unique to them. So whoever wrote these characters is doing a good job. But these characters don't have really much of a function. I would say they're just very like, okay, you talk to this guy to check your skins, this guy to check your unlocks and things like that. And I think there could be a little bit more in the central hub, maybe make the characters a bit more lively, maybe add some mini games to play, because this is also a co-op game as well. You can play up to 3 players, so you and 2 of your friends. And I think there should be some sort of mini game, some way of having fun in the arc as well, because right now it's just visually pretty, but there needs to be some sort of exploration, some sort of mini game, maybe an arena where you can fight enemies in a sort of gauntlet, boss gauntlet, if you will. It's not too dissimilar. Forgive all the Risk of Rain 2 comparisons, but Risk of Rain 2 has other game modes. Slay the Spire has other game modes besides the main one, right? Besides doing a run, there's other things to do, mini games. I don't know if mini games is the right term, but different game modes. And I think Windblown could benefit from a sort of boss rush, gauntlet, arena, something along those lines, in my opinion. Something I didn't mention, this isn't a negative, this is rather a positive, but there are skins in the game. Not skins you buy, $5 to play as a bat, $5 to play as a snake, $10 to play as an elephant, whatever. No, skins you earn, and you earn them in game, and you earn them for challenging events. Some you find RNG, some of them are hidden behind like kind of like quests, if you will, if from like a MMORPG like World of Warcraft or something. Others you earn by doing difficult things, so they're kind of a flex, if you will, to show off to other people, show off to your friends if you play with them in co-op and be like, check out this new skin I got. Yeah, I had to go through the vortex 3 times to use this skin. All the skins are amazing. They have plenty of personality. They're designed very well, and they're adorable to look at. So yeah, talked a little bit about the negatives, talked a little bit about the nice things in the game, the aesthetics, the skins. But really for me, it's the gameplay. The gameplay is king, and I encourage you, if you've liked what you've been seeing so far, to try it yourself. I forget how much it is. I think it's going for $20. At least when it's on sale, it looks like it's $20, but typically it's 25. And in my opinion, it's worth it. It's worth it, especially Not only if you enjoy roguelites in general, but also if you have a friend or two to play with. The co-op is very solid. A problem, playing Risk of Rain 2 with friends is that I turn into a little loot goblin. I turn into a loot gremlin, and I just take all the items, and then my friends die because they don't have any weapons or items rather. I've been playing too much Windblown. I'm talking about weapons, but they don't have items. I have all the items, and I turn into a greedy, goblin, and I end up just carrying the run while they're all dead watching me. That sucks. Windblown doesn't have that problem. You share items, you share weapons, you share gifts, things like that. So everybody gets their own piece of the pie. It's just not one guy hogging it all. I think that's a great change, specific to this roguelite, and I wish other roguelites would do the same thing. Even though I enjoy being a loot gremlin in Risk of Rain 2, this is a nice change of pace here. So this was a little bit of a rant, just a general, hey, you should try out this game. I like this game. I hope I did a good job just showing you a little bit more about the game. I'm not saying it's perfect, far from it actually. We have a long way to go to 1.0, but with the way Motion Twin has been, with the way they've been communicating with everyone, acknowledging our feedback, the way they've been putting major updates out consistently month to month, I have no doubt by the time 2026 rolls around and 1.0 launches that it is going to be, in my opinion, one of the best roguelites out there. That's just my opinion. I certainly have been wrong before. I was wrong about Anthem. Don't ask me what happened to Anthem. But this, I think there's something special here, and even if it's not one of the best roguelites ever made, it's going to be quite close. You can rest assured. Top down may not be for everyone. Maybe consistently dodging back and forth, spamming dodge, spamming ultra attacks may not be for everyone. But hey, if it's for you, you're gonna love this game. I promise. So that's gonna be it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you all in the vortex.